Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to pop over quickly to this side of the camera because I want to give a little bit of context for everything that you're going to see in this video, and also say hello, of course. So the art world is back. September is definitely one of the busiest months in New York City, but along with that busyness is a lot of excitement. Artists give a lot of walkthroughs of their exhibits. There's a major art fair, multiple major art fairs, but I think my favorite thing is definitely the artists sort of talking through their exhibitions. So I was really lucky to be able to see the preview of Daniel Arsham's show at Galerie Perrotin, as well as hear Nicolas Party walk through his exhibit at Hauser and Wirth. So I will be sprinkling in little videos of the artists, so keep an eye out for them as we walk through each exhibit. Also, if you want to skip any parts of the video, I've left little timestamps in the description box below, so you can move along to other parts if certain parts don't interest you. So yeah, let's jump right in. We're going to start with Daniel Arsham's show at Galerie Perrotin. So the most surprising thing about this show is actually something that you see right when you walk in on the ground floor of the gallery space. So he's actually having a real Porsche built throughout the entire run of the exhibit. So what you see here is someone assembling the car, and you're actually going to get a little glimpse of Arsham, of himself, speaking with the man who did all of the custom leather interiors. So Arsham really wanted to do this to bring together two worlds that he loves and to potentially bring new audiences into the traditional gallery space that may or may not find their way there otherwise. And if you're not familiar with Daniel Arsham, he's a contemporary pop artist. And I say that because he references pop culture in a lot of his works, as you can see here. He's also really interested in capturing the passage of time in his works. So you'll often see references to clocks or to decay. The title of the show is 20 Years, and as it suggests, it's an exhibit of works highlighting the evolution of his practice over the last 20 years, which actually also marks the beginning of his relationship working with Emmanuel Perrotin. So Perrotin met Daniel when Arsham was only 22 years old. And this is a two-part show that is here in New York as well as in their beautiful Paris gallery space, which I've been very lucky to visit. I will leave videos for some of those linked in the description box below if you want to see that. As you can see, there's a huge variety of mediums used in the show because he's honestly experimented with a lot of mediums throughout his practice. I will say, though, his paintings are my favorite personally. If you're new to this channel, I do sometimes have a bias towards painting. I just love it. And as you can see, there are paintings, works on paper, as well as sculptures. So Arsham actually began his practice as a painter, and his first exhibits at Perrotin were paintings. He then sort of ventured more and more into sculpture, which is really what he's more best known for. But in the past few years, he's returned to painting, so I think it's really cool to see this kind of full circle moment in his career. I always really enjoy seeing contemporary pop artists like Cause or Arsham create these really beautiful, large-scale paintings that are immaculately done because it's kind of a bit of an FU. In the same way that pop art has a bad reputation in the past, you know, think Andy Warhol, it still carries that reputation a bit because it's referencing something in today's culture and because it's really appreciated by the larger public and not just sort of the small intellectual spheres of the art world. So people think it must be bad. And it's just a little reminder, I think, when they create these beautiful paintings that these artists are incredible artists and that they choose to make the art that they do because that's the statement they want to make and how they want to contribute to our culture, even though they're skilled enough to create works that would honestly be probably more acceptable in the traditional art world space. I also have to call attention to these sculptures in particular. There are, I think, about 4 Star Wars inspired sculptures in this exhibit, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm a very big Star Wars fan. And to create these, he actually collaborated with Lucasfilms to get very hyper-realistic sort of versions and scales of the actual characters. This is one of my favorite paintings from the show. I'm just going to insert a photo of me in front of it so you can actually appreciate how large the scale of this work is and all of the incredible details that are a part of it. These classic Greek and Roman sculptures were inspired by a collaboration that he did with the Louvre a few years back. They actually gave him access to their mold collection, and he took these and added sort of his signature elements of various materials as well as decay of crystals. And what I think is cool about them and about Arsham's sculptures in general is that their place within history is unclear. They have a sort of post-apocalyptic feel so that they could be from the future, but they're items from the past. So I feel like he mixes things to sort of create this uncertainty when you're looking at the item. It's now the following day, September 7th, Thursday, and we are in Chelsea to check out a couple of shows at Hauser and Wirth Gallery. This is Nicolas Party's current exhibit, which takes place on the entire first floor of the gallery. And if you're not familiar with Nicolas Party, he's a Swiss artist who's known for his surrealist, dreamy portraits and landscapes, as well as his site-specific murals. So this is actually pastel applied directly on the wall, of course, with some kind of fixative. And its title is Red Forest because it's a forest that is on fire, which is a very direct reference to the crisis that we're experiencing right now because of global warming. And then positioned right next to the Red Forest is this work of a child, and this is representing his newborn baby and his fear for his family's future, and honestly the future of our planet. The works in this room were inspired by the work of a radical 19th century French realist painter, Rosa Bonheur, who's an icon of women's independence, who put the living world at the heart of both her work and her life. So she placed animals at the center of her practice, which honestly wasn't really being done at the time, especially for a woman. This is really keeping in theme with this idea of impending danger, and not just for humans that are currently suffering, but for animals as well. It's kind of giving me Noah's Ark vibes a little bit. The thing I love most about Nicolas Party's work is that he tackles the most traditional subject matter within art history, like landscapes and portraits, but they're executed in the most non traditional way possible. He uses non traditional colors, especially typically for a man's practice, and he's using these really delicate, soft pastels, which we often don't find in nature, not at least on the objects that he's capturing. It's also the way that he's stylized his subjects. They're still identifiable, but not realistic in the slightest. They have this really surreal, fantastical feeling to them. Continuing with the theme of sort of the fear of extinction at the hands of the planet, he's created these two small dinosaur works in the show. This is one of them, and it's probably my favorite. I just find it to be very cute, which is important and also interesting because it represents such a dark subject matter, which is sort of the demise of a whole species. The next room features two really incredible works. This is one, and then there's this giant mural on the other wall that are a continuation of his swamp series. So I didn't realize this, but apparently swamps or wetlands are really crucial to our ecosystem. They moderate the effects of flooding, among other things. And Party really drives this home by capturing them in this shape, kind of a religious triptych, if you will. And I think that's highlighting that they're something special and that they need to be respected. This is the second mural of the show, again, part of his Swamp series. And this is also pastel applied on the wall. And just to give you a sense of scale, it's 37.5 feet wide, which is roughly a three-story building. So just to give you a kind of reference, it is very large. We see this triptych structure again with these really small oil on copper paintings that are referencing altarpieces in medieval and Renaissance art, but reimagining them in a modern way. On the second and the fifth floor of the gallery is an exhibit of works from the late Ed Clark. This is actually him in his studio. And Ed Clark is an American artist known for creating abstract paintings. So in the 1950s, he was a pioneer of the New York School. This is actually the oldest work from 1952 in this exhibit. And if you're not familiar with what the New York School is, it was, quote, an informal group of American poets, painters, dancers, and musicians. Another fun fact about him is that apparently he was the, quote, first American artist credited with exhibiting a shaped canvas. So artists that have famously used shaped canvases in their practices since then, you can think of Sam Gilliam, Ellsworth Kelly, Tom Vezelman, and more, but apparently he was the first. Very cool. This exhibit features works from 6 decades of his career, from his revolutionary use of push brooms as painting tools, which you got a little glimpse of in the photo at the beginning of the show, to his breakthrough introduction of the shaped canvas. I'll leave the year that each work was created on the bottom left corner of the screen so you can really appreciate the evolution of his work. This is the continuation of the exhibit on the fifth floor gallery space. And I also want to call out that Hauser has created a monograph called The Big Sweep to accompany this exhibit. If you're enjoying his works and you want to learn more, I will leave a link for it below. It's now Friday, September 8th, and it is the opening preview day of the Armory Show. So we're going to check that out. They call it New York's art fair, which I think captures it perfectly. I'm biased, but I feel like more than other fairs, I feel like this one really caters to New York collectors because they bring in a really nice mix of galleries from all over the world and all over the United States that have a variety of established artists, but also have a lot of emerging artists as well. I'm just going to insert some clips of the more interesting things that I saw so you can really get a feel for what the fair feels like and looks like. And I did create a longer video of this fair, I believe last year, so I will leave that video linked below if you'd like to go back and look at that. But I'll make sure to put every artist name and gallery on the screen as well. My favorite booth was definitely Ventrup Gallery's booth. I love that they had a solo booth. So all of these works are from Jenny Brosinski. These are new works of hers, which is also really exciting to see. They're a German gallery, so anytime that I can see works from her in person, it's not as easy to make it over to Germany. So very happy to see these works and to reconnect with them at the fair, which is really what fairs are all about. This is where I'm going to end the video. The US Open, always at the same time of Armory every year, and it's always great to be able to catch a game. This one was epic. Ben Shelton versus Novak Djokovic. Let me know if you made it to the US Open as well, if you're a local New Yorker. Thank you everyone for watching. Next week, I will be sharing some gallery exhibits from Tribeca. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe so that you'll be notified when that one goes live. And I will see you all in my next video.